Mortal Kombat is a mature game with adult themes, and as such, many of the characters are quite promiscuous. But which characters get down and dirty the most? Without any further ado, let's find out. How far would you go for the person you desired? Would you betray the entire planet? Probably not, right? Because that's taking things too far. Well, guess what? Li Mei did exactly that. In fact, she went a bit further and betrayed the entire realms. That's right, you heard me correctly. Instead of siding with the good guys and preserving life as we know it, Li Mei chose her man. And believe it or not, things get even worse because she never even knew Onaga. She had not met the guy until that very day, and still she chose him over everybody else who's alive. I'm not gonna lie, Mortal Kombat has a lot of bad people doing a lot of terrible things, but Li Mei betraying the entire realms because she's thirsty, that's definitely up there. But hey, I'll say this much about Li Mei, she did get married to Onaga, and it's implied they stayed faithful the entire time and just ruled over all the realms. And sadly, I can't say the same for the next lady on this list, even though she is one of the good guys and a hero. Because next up, we're talking about Sonya Blade. You would think that a soldier of all people would know the importance of using protection, but apparently not, because that's how Cassie Cage was created. Yep, she was the result of a one-night stand. Sonya Blade did the sideways tango with Johnny Cage right after Earthrealm was saved, a man who she definitely did not have strong feelings for at all.
Need an escort.
Or in other words, she just wanted to have a good time, and then planned on leaving forever afterwards. And if you don't believe me, you can check out the Mortal Kombat X comics. The only reason Sonya Blade came back to Johnny Cage is because she found out she was pregnant. And listen, before we go judging, these two did help save Earthrealm, and on top of that, Cassie Cage, their daughter, did the exact same thing. So sometimes accidents can be a good thing. But even so, it can't be denied that Sonya Blade put her thirst before her common sense of using protection in the bedroom. And then on top of that, it gets worse because guess what? Sonya divorced Johnny Cage. Why? Because she put her work before her family. Once again, the game confirms this completely. Despite what many might think, Johnny Cage is a good father to Cassie Cage. He even joins the military to help her when Earthrealm's in danger again. I'm not gonna say Sonya Blade is the worst parent on the planet, because she's not, especially not by Mortal Kombat standards, but even so, she could have done a lot better by Cassie Cage. And when you add it all together, the facts are this: she had a one-night stand, she was not responsible and did not use protection, and instead of taking responsibility and sticking with it, she divorced Johnny Cage, and it's implied she spends more time working than with her own child.
This is what split us up in the first place. You disappear in your work. Never time for me and Cassie.
I had responsibilities.
There was a time when you cared more about your family than your job.
However, with all that said, it does seem like she was getting better in Mortal Kombat 11 before she up and died. So at least I'll give her that. If Sonya Blade had not died, it's possible she could have been a happy family with Cassie Cage. But keep in mind at this point, Cassie Cage was fully grown and then some, like 20-something years old. I mean, better late than never, but still, she could have done a lot better. But you know what? At least she didn't marry a guy who's comfortable with genocide. Unlike the next girl on our list, yep, we're talking about Jade. Listen, I love this character. I'm a big fan of playing Jade. I've always liked her playstyle. The staff is fun. The blazing nitro kick is cool. I love playing the character, but I cannot stand by her on this. In Mortal Kombat 11, it's revealed that Jade had a love affair with Kotal Khan, which was weird to say the least because it was never explained in any of the comics, but okay, here we are. And for the most part, they made a cute couple. They had each other's back, they were fighting each other's battles, but then guess what happens? Kotal Khan tries to commit genocide. And when Jade steps forward and goes, "No, Kotal Khan, don't do this," guess what happens? Does he listen to her? Nope, he fights her, and she has to knock him out. And you would think after that anybody with common sense would say, you know, yeah, I like this guy, but he tried to commit genocide, and when I told him no, he didn't listen and tried to fight me physically. Yeah, it's not gonna work out. I feel like that's what any reasonable person would do, but Jade said, nope, I forgive you because your heart can change. This guy's old, by the way. Kotal Khan's not some young guy who's ignorant of the world and just needs to learn to do better. This guy's been around for a long time. He knows what he's doing. Once again, I'm a big Jade fan, but I won't lie, this was a low point for her career, and I would not be sad if this relationship never happens again and we never hear about it. Make it non-canon for all I care. Retcon it in the next game, completely rewrite history. I don't want Jade to be in love with the man who tried to commit genocide. But now, finally, it's time to talk about Scarlet, and not MK9 Scarlet, because she's just a murdering monster powered and made of blood. Nope, today we're talking about MK11 Scarlet. Why? Because she has the hots for her own father. That's right, she wants to marry Shao Kahn.
I will be Shao Kahn's empress.
You aren't even competition.
I'll bleed your power and make him mine.
And even though Shao Kahn's not her biological father, he is still the man who adopted and raised her, so wanting to marry him and having the hots for him is still a red flag and definitely very, very weird. Stop being so thirsty, Scarlet. Find somebody else to lust after who's not in your family, please. And believe it or not, this is actually not the first time that Scarlet was thirsty beyond belief. It happened once before in the comics for your boy Reiko, the Diet Coke Shao Kahn. Yeah, it turns out that if anybody is remotely like Shao Kahn, then Scarlet might have the hots for you. Or honestly, she could just be in love with power. Like the strongest guy in the room has her heart, and that's all she cares about. Some ladies love money, some ladies love power. That's how it is, I guess. That's what fuels her desires, I suppose. As you can see, Scarlet is even thirstier than Jade. She would not care if her boy toy committed genocide. As long as he's the strongest guy in the room, that's who she wants. And you know what? Speaking of power lust, let's talk about Sindel, because she's in the exact same boat, though only for the Netherrealm version of Sindel, and even then only in Mortal Kombat 11. I've seen some people in the comments section trying to argue that even MK9 Sindel was evil from the start, but no, that's simply not the case, and if you don't believe me, you can read her bio. Only MK11 Sindel is guilty of being a hoe and thirsting after men, okay? However, it's not any man. Just like Scarlet, it must be the strongest man in the room, but here is why she's worse than Scarlet, okay? Do you know who killed Sindel's husband and also invaded her realm? Yeah, your boy Shao Kahn, but that doesn't matter. Again, all she cares about is power. Sindel straight up said, I don't care if you destroy my kingdom, I'll kill my own husband because your biceps be big. But Sindel didn't stop at killing her own husband. No, no, no. She also beat down her own daughter Katana. And once again, the reason why is because she loves Shao Kahn. That's right, Sindel's thirst for her husband is stronger than her love for her own flesh and blood daughter. That is next level thoughterry. Alright, and there's only one more character to talk about on this list, but before we get there, before we discuss the #1 thought in Mortal Kombat history, we have some honorable mentions. First up, we have Tanya. She betrays and manipulates everybody, so I would not be shocked if she used her body to get what she wants. Because keep in mind, this woman's used her charm to trick Liu Kang, Rain, and Molina. Alright, she can't be stopped. But the reason I have her as an honorable mention is because to my knowledge, she's never actually done the deed, or the sideways tango as I call it. But then we have Johnny Cage, the Hollywood celebrity. You know he's gotten down and dirty a bunch of times. In fact, when this man was stuck at a life or death tournament, one of the first things he did was hit on the prettiest girl in the room. So yeah, your boy be thirsty.
And I'm taking you down, I'm taking you down, I'm taking you out, I'm taking you out, and I'm taking you out for dinner.
But just like Tanya, he is an honorable mention because I can't prove that he's actually done the sideways tango. I'm just assuming he has. And then finally we have Kung Lao. Even though he is a monk and likely took a vow of celibacy, the guy flirts with every lady in his intros. So I feel like if he had the chance, he'd definitely do something.
Double date with Liu Kang and Katana?
In your dreams, Kung Lao.
A simple no would have sufficed.
And I'm gonna keep it real, I don't think his standards are very high. I think he's gonna take pretty much anybody who's reasonably good looking. And also real quick, I wanted to give a shout out to the anti-thoughts, okay? Jackie Briggs and Katana. Both these ladies are completely loyal to their man and even get married to them in several different timelines and endings, etc. But now finally, without any further delay, it's time to talk about the #1 thought in Mortal Kombat history. And you already know the name, it's Molina. I love this character. You all know that I love this character. I've gone on record that she is a top 3 character in Mortal Kombat. In fact, I consider her a poster character for the series. However, the reality is this girl gets down and dirty all the time. Although in fairness, it could be because she's very insecure about her disgusting Tarkatan face, and as such, she seeks validation in different ways. I've made the joke several times that Molina just wants to be accepted and loved, but sadly all she can get is lust, and so she just seeks that out. But I could be wrong, and maybe Molina's just evil and loves to manipulate people. No matter what the case may be, the fact is this girl's had a lot of partners. Let's go down the list. Baraka. Alright, it's very implied she's been with Baraka. Goro. Happened in the comics. Reiko. Happened in the comics. Tanya, it's heavily implied by the intro dialogue. And then on top of those various partners, Molina is also thirsting after most of the men in the character intros. Okay, she can't be stopped. This girl's thirst cannot be quenched. Once again, I love this character, but my love does not compare to her love for pretty much any partner that will have her. And once again, I feel bad a little bit. It could be an insecurity thing, but the fact is, when it comes to characters in Mortal Kombat that have had the most partners, Molina is at the top of that list, which in a way is commendable when you consider how ugly she is. At the end of the day, day, I suppose we're all just looking for love. And let's be real, most of you watching I'm pretty sure have a higher body count than Molina, which is why I choose not to judge too much. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. It seemed like an entertaining and interesting topic, so please leave a like down below if you enjoyed. It helps the channel out a ton, and then keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell. That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.